Hello. Hi, Clark. Almost beginning. Are you excited? Oh, thank you. I'm really looking forward to tonight's speeches because we have 3 really experienced and really passionate speakers. And I've seen them all individually. And so this is the first time I'm personally hearing them speaking together in this really unique online event. Okay. So we will be beginning in 1 minute. I hope everyone's back. Okay, now it is 8, and welcome to tonight's Pathways Interactive Online Training. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you once again to mute yourself if you haven't, in order for this event to go on smoothly. And tonight we will have 3 experienced and very passionate speakers who will be sharing their projects or their experience during a project. And after each project, each demo, we will have a Q&A session in which you can post your questions and I will read them aloud and to allow our speakers to give their answers to your questions. And I am your host for tonight. I am Tirina Chen from Premium Club, and I'm a club division A and G. So in this series of Pathways Interactive online training sessions, we have a chance to get a glimpse of how projects are done. And so I'd like to introduce our very first speaker for tonight. And our first speaker for tonight is our Matthew Mack, who is the immediate past director of District 67. He has achieved 1 Pathways DTM and is looking forward to completing another Pathways DTM. He has completed 3 paths so far: team collaboration, presentation mastery, and leadership development. He is now working on his 4th path, wow, motivational strategies. He loves Pathways because of its variety and giving the member the ability to pick and choose what best suits them. So Matthew today will be doing his level 5 required speech, which is a reflection, reflect on your path. And his path is team collaboration. So he will be giving a 10 to 12 minute speech, and his title is From Me to We. So this is the last speech of any path. So whichever path you choose, you will be required to do this path. So the purpose of this project is to reflect on your growth during the completion of an entire path. So he will be sharing his experience in completing his path. So let us put our hands together to welcome Matthew Mack.
Thank you very much. Okay, Tirina, I'm gonna share. Let's see if this works. Okay, can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is working. Okay, so it's wonderful to be here to share with you about my final speech on my team collaboration path, which was my first path when I started on Pathways. And this was when the pathway system was just starting to roll out in our district. And I wanted to share with you about this path and looking back on it, how awesome it was. Now, when I chose this path, I thought, yes, I'm the division director at that time. I'm a part of this huge team, this district, and I need to work with people. And I didn't think of this path as being something that was for leadership. I thought it was just teaching me how to work together with a team. And boy, was I mistaken. It was everything about leadership. So don't think leadership has to only do with the leadership development or dynamic leadership. This is actually one of the doorways of the pathway system that opens you up to being a leader. And it does so by going from me to we. So in every path, if you have started doing your pathways, if not, you'll soon be doing it, is the level 1 required projects. And this is the beginning of the me. This is where you learn how to introduce yourself to everybody so everybody knows who you are. It teaches you about evaluation and feedback. So it teaches you to grow and become a better speaker because you have to give a 5 to 7 minute speech. And then you have to get feedback from a more experienced member or your fellow Toastmasters in your club. Give a second speech, which can be the exact same one or a different speech, and you incorporate that feedback from the other member, and then you yourself serve as a speech evaluator for another speaker. And then finally, it's growing yourself. So the final project for level 1 is to research a topic you are interested about, or you have no idea what it is, but you want to know more about, or something you know a little bit about, but you want to know more about. And this is also all about me, the me part. So this is your beginning of your Toastmasters journey or your Pathways journey. And then it continues on to the me. So this is where it starts heading into the leadership, where I realize I need to understand how I communicate with other people. Now, I never really thought about this. I thought, well, everyone just communicated like me. You have a mouth and you speak, you can have a voice and you can communicate. Well, through this particular project, which is a required project of level 2, I realized I'm a direct communicator. So I like to communicate very directly. I usually give very clear directions. And it actually told me through this, doing this particular project, where I started to learn that there are other kinds of communicators, and I'm working in a team with different communicators. So this really helped me to learn how to work with these other sorts of communicators. And then it's the active listening. Now, I know many of us have been in table topics being very nervous about it. And when you're the table topics master, you're like, okay, I throw out the question, somebody goes on stage for 1 to 2 minutes, and then I can just sit back and relax and wait for them to finish, and I'll go up and give a second question. But this active listening is so key to being a leader, where you're listening carefully to what each speaker says, in response to the question you gave them, and then giving them some sort of a comment after their speech. So it's a 1 to 2 minute speech by them, and then you have to give some sort of a feedback like, oh, yes, I've been to that place before. Oh, yes, I've had that experience before. And this, in a way, is a very good training when you're leading a team, because you have to have that sympathy, that empathy. You have to echo what they have said, and then you can come up with, yes, I understand what you're saying, but this kind of training started here in the level 2 active listening for me. So in total, you might have 5 speakers. That means each speaker, you have to comment on what they're saying, and it has to add up to at least 5 minutes. So if you have less than 5 speakers, then you kind of have to average out how long each comment is. And then your active listening is actually evaluated by another person, another member. And finally, I think before we move to the we, which begins in level 3, is this introduction to Toastmasters mentoring, which was really important, because once we've been in Toastmasters for a while, it's great to really go back and look at why we joined Toastmasters, what it felt like when we walked through those doors and decided to be a Toastmaster, and how it felt when we were guided by someone, by an experienced or senior member, and really think back to that time, because it makes us think about how we felt being led. And if that experience was hopefully a good one, and if not such a good one, how it could be improved. And by reflecting on how we felt when we were a protege or a mentee, we can improve on our own leadership experience by not making those same mistakes, or improving on that leadership experience and doing a better job as a leader ourselves. So I think this level 1 and level 2 together is the exploration of ourselves as leaders. And then we move to level 3, where it really comes into the we. So the required project in team collaboration for level 3 is successful collaboration. You have to work with a small team and make a decision on a small scale event or project. Now, if you look at the project requirements and you look at the ideas that Toastmasters has in there, it says arranging a club meeting could be an idea for this particular project. Now, arranging a club meeting, you have to work with many people. So if you are the Toastmaster of the evening or the Toastmaster of the day, you would work with the VPE, the president, and the members to make sure that the agenda is ready and all the roles are assigned. And to also have the contingency plan, where in case a member can't come, you have a plan in place that if he or she cannot show up, somebody will be able to take over and replace that role, so the meeting can be done smoothly and no delays will happen. Now, in addition to the club meeting, some other ideas that we could do for this successful collaboration is maybe arranging a club outing. That's very possible. That is a great way to, a small scale project doesn't have to be a huge thing. If you want to make it a huge thing, you can totally go for it. And this is really learning to collaborate with other people, because before we can lead other people, we have to learn to work with them. And this is where the level 1 and level 2 comes into play. You learn your communication style. So you're talking with these other members who are working with you, and they may have a different communication style. You're listening. You're actively listening to their opinions, to their thoughts, to their plans, to their ideas, which may be the same or may be different from you. And how do you go ahead and make sure that they are being respected, their voices are being heard, and you somehow reach a consensus on this outing or this meeting? And even arranging a club contest, which requires planning and working on. This could also be a possible project that could be done to fulfill level 3. So don't think that it's very intimidating, because I have heard from members, oh, I don't know what to do for level 3. My job doesn't require me to plan an event or project. This is not part of my job. I don't know how to do this. Or I'm just a new member in the Toastmasters Club. The officers are doing it. We can definitely raise our hand and proactively participate and volunteer and say, can I help you to plan the next meeting? Can I help to arrange the agenda? And this will be a great way to fulfill this particular project. Now, when we move to level 4, this is similar, but now you're learning to motivate the team to complete a project that benefits your club. So now, of course, a club meeting is great. You could also do membership recruitment campaign. So I don't think we will ever think that we have too many members in our clubs. We would love to have as many members as possible. So that would be great, right? So how do we get more members? What can we do? This is a great time to do this. Motivate the members and the officers to come together and let's do this. An outing, a workshop, inviting somebody to come give a workshop. That requires a lot of planning and motivating to get it going. A joint club event between 2 or 3 clubs, that's a great way to do it too. So don't think of these projects being, oh, this is so hard, this is so intimidating. It's not. It's actually within arm's reach. You only have to reach out and the members and officers of your clubs or even your area division directors or district leaders will help you and say, oh, you want to fulfill this project? Well, let's work on this thing. And if you see here, there is a really key part of this, which is the 360-degree evaluation. Some of you might have done it already. Some of you have no idea what it's about. And I will go into it very soon. And then level 5 is the we is the culmination of it all, where we learn to lead in any situation. Because we know in leading, you're not always going to have a smooth ride. Sometimes you will have bumps in the road and you have to somehow overcome them. So what I learned from each level 1 was building my confidence and speaking skills. Level 2 helped me to understand my own communication style, building the active listening skills, and helping to reflect on my own experience of being led by someone. And level 3, learning to collaborate on a small project. Level 4 was learning to not only complete a project, but motivating others to come and help me. And level 5 was learning how to lead in difficult times. So what I found most useful was the active listening training, which was key because normally we will say, yeah, let's not do this. I'm not going to get, I don't want to get called on. I'm just going to sit back and relax. But the 360-degree evaluation was so important that I actually brought it to my work and I told my boss, can we use this for the evaluation internally? And guess what? It was used. And now we do use the 360-degree evaluation to evaluate all of our teachers. Because if you can see here, we not only have to tell them, there's no 0 on this. So that's the same at my work now. We tell them, hey, you're developing it. You're not failing. This is what you can improve on. We have to give them feedback on what they've done well and how they can improve. It's not just, oh, you did this terribly. This is not okay. It's no longer this. And this has been the case for the last 2 years. So it's finally brought some change. So when we talk about how Toastmaster changes lives, this actually did because I brought it to work and it was implemented after a discussion. What I didn't realize was the team collaboration path, what the skills I learned throughout my leadership journey, they were so applicable for the next 2 years when I became club growth director and then district director, because I led the district during, the COVID-19 crisis. So this was so key. I looked back on this path and I was like, the skills carried over again and again. I kept finding myself coming back and looking at what this project had to offer. And so I think team collaboration, if you want to be a leader or you're looking to build up your leadership skills, team collaboration is one of the best paths you can choose to start learning step by step how to be a leader. Thank you very much, host Tirina.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for your really wonderful and really helpful sharing. I personally learned a lot because it is one thing to do a path on your own and when you are in the middle of doing a path, but it is another thing listening to someone who has gone through this process, looking back at it and sharing it with you. It really gives you a umbrella view of the entire project. Even if I'm not doing this particular project myself, I still find it very helpful and very useful. Thank you. So now we would like to invite anyone who have questions to please type in the chat box, and I will read the questions and ask Matthew. Now, while everyone is typing questions, here I have the first question. As you mentioned, we all have different communication styles and even styles of doing things. So in this team collaboration path, there are lots of chances for you to collaborate with a team. So have you encountered any difficulties during the successful collaboration project when you were having your project? And could you share a bit about that if you have encountered any difficulties and how you solved it?
Yes, so I realize I'm a direct communicator, and sometimes when I'm working with another person in the team, whether that be at work or in Toastmasters, if they are also a direct communicator, then we kind of have to reach a consensus where we're going to be direct in our communication and we're not going to have any hard feelings about it because we're both direct communicators. And sometimes you'll work with people who aren't direct communicators, and you have to kind of really pull back and really set aside that sort of communication style or learn about the other communication styles and kind of adapt to the situation. So you have to be situationally aware and work with them, because I think it's going to be difficult to always have somebody around you where they communicate the same as you do. And actually, I've realized after working with different kinds of people that sometimes it's actually nice to have members who have a different type of communication style as you, so you can get a different sort of a perspective on the situation that you may not have thought was the case, because they have a different outlook on it or they're communicating with you differently. It's actually all a really great learning process, and you learn to work with different people. So I think by learning about your communication style and the other kind of communication styles, it's a wonderful, wonderful way to learn to work as a team and to lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. And we have a question. To motivate others, one has to motivate oneself first. How do you keep your motivation up and running despite of the difficult situation?
That's a great question. And I think to keep yourself motivated, you have to always be open to new ideas and new things and new challenges. So I was one of the first people to jump on the wagon and start Pathways. Before Pathways officially rolled out in our district, I started doing the icebreaker. And yes, it was a little scary. It was a little scary to jump from the traditional because I was still working on my traditional at that time. But I wanted to see what Pathways was, what it had to offer, why Toastmasters promoted Pathways and wanted to revamp the education system. And I realized it's a lot of fun. And that's why I'm doing my fourth path now. It's a lot of customization. I get to choose and pick the different projects that I want to do on top of the required projects. And I found it to be directly applicable to my work and my daily life. And it's actually improved my communication with my friends even. So that's the kind of thing. And then the other thing is to have a clear goal. And if you have a clear goal, no matter how difficult the situation is, you'll find a way to get around the obstacle or the difficult situation and eventually reach that goal. You may not reach it 100%, but you'll at least reach it 80 or 90%, and you'll feel good about it because you've achieved something amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Uh, Next question. Wow, we have a lot of questions. That's really good. For new members who are not officers yet and perhaps not so familiar with a lot of other Toastmasters, what's your suggestion on how they can recruit a team for a team project? Wow, a very important question.
Very important question. And I think even if you're not an officer or you're not so familiar with other Toastmasters and you're a brand new member, always turn next to your next, the member sitting next to you and introduce yourself and say, hey, I got this idea. Would you like to help me with it? So I think the key to getting a team together to work on your project is maybe asking your friends, your neighbors. I actually asked my coworkers and they asked, what is this about? And that's actually how I started the Japanese department in my company. This is really how it happened. I turned to another person. I said, Japanese is so popular in Taiwan. We all go to Japan for vacation. People would love to learn Japanese. Let's work on this. And guess what? The Japanese department has grown to be as successful as the English department, which our company has had for 30 years. But the Japanese department has only been up and running for 5. So it really only took me to turn and ask and say, hey, would you like to help me with this? This is my idea. So I think for new members, don't feel like, oh, I'm a new member, I don't know much, but you have a wealth of ideas that you can share. Everyone does, because we all come from different walks of life. So we all have something to offer. Even if you are not experienced, even if you're not a club officer, you have a lot of great ideas, I'm sure, that you can share. So you don't be nervous, don't be afraid. Walk up to a member or an officer and say, hey, I have this great idea for our club. Do you think we can try it out? And then ask, other members. We're all Toastmasters. We would be more than willing to be friends and help you on this. So I think be courageous and just ask.
Right. Thank you. One of the beauty of Toastmasters is the positive and supportive environment. The next question is, does the project have to be successful in terms of achieving the project goal to count as completed?
Does the project have to be successful in? No. Most of the time, it's we embark on the project and it's what we get out of the project. So, for example, we wanted to do, for example, some sort of a joint meeting, it might fall through because of a sudden schedule conflict. For example, the project can be completed because you are not sharing the success of your project. In these projects that I've shown you, which are required for this path, you're sharing what you learned and the experience you got out of these projects. So you're not sharing that, hey, I succeeded. This was a success. It was 100%. So that's why it's completed. No, you did the project, you tried it, it may not have succeeded, and then you're sharing with the members, the club, what you got out of it. So you don't have to have achieved 100%. You might have only achieved 80 and the other 20% something went wrong. That's part of your experience. And that is definitely worth sharing. So to answer the question, no, your project does not have to be successful, but you have to implement it and then see how far you get and then share that experience, the good and the challenging parts in your speech to your club or to your members. Yes.
We learn by doing. Thank you. And the next question is, Julie says, thank you, Matthew, great answer. And the next question is, what would you suggest to the mentor if his mentee is very passive and reluctant to be motivated?
Okay, so the mentor-mentee system in Toastmasters is 2 ways. So the mentor and the mentee both have to talk to each other. So we sometimes have mentors say, well, the mentee never came and talked to me, so I thought everything was great. He or she was not having any problems. I never got contacted. And then we talk to the mentee, and the mentee's like, well, my mentor never contacted me, so I didn't know if he or she was willing to help me. So it's a 2-way communication. And yes, sometimes we will have mentees who are maybe very passive or reluctant to be motivated. And I think that's just going to take communication and really sitting down with them over a cup of coffee, over a donut, something, and asking them why they are in Toastmasters. So that's what we have to figure out first, because we're not all in Toastmasters for the same reason. Some of us are here to improve our English. Some of us are here to become better leaders. Some of us are here to become better communicators, to conquer stage fright. It's different. So there's a really great tool that Toastmasters has, which is called the Member Interest Survey, which I strongly recommend that we use. So if you are a mentor you can definitely hand this out, and we have Chinese and English, by the way, to show the member what are you interested in? What do you want to get out of Toastmasters? And this will help you to know what they're in Toastmasters for, why they paid that fee, why they walked through the door and decided to become a member. And then you'll be able to better know how to motivate them or know where their interests lie, so you can overcome that obstacle or that passiveness that they may have, because they may not be interested in being a club officer. They may be interested in becoming a better communicator. So that might be the direction to go to help them as their mentor.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, how do you deal with team members who insist on their direction, which might be different from the team's?
Okay, so my understanding is the team members have a different direction from the entire team's direction. Yes. Okay, so that individual member might have a different direction. Well, I would say mutual respect is definitely key. That's one of the core values of Toastmasters. So hear them out. Listen to them and ask them why they insist on going in a different direction from the team. Maybe because they have a certain the belief that that direction is better, or they might share with you that they've done it before and this was a better way. I think hear them out first and then try to work with them. But again, the team's direction, if the team majority agrees that we want to go to the right and this particular member would like to go to the left, then there's going to have to be some, I think, communication with them, definitely. And in the end, it's really collaborating and working together as a team. So sometimes as a leader, you might have to really try to communicate with them. And if they are really difficult to work with or they're not easily persuaded, then maybe they should be put on a different team, and you might need to find another person to come and work with you. Because sometimes I think definitely respect them for their, for their voice and their difference, because everyone's different. But at the same time, sometimes some members or some team members might just really have a different idea from you, and you might not end up working well with them. And that's also a learning experience too. But every member that works with you, whether they agree or disagree with you, are an absolute great lesson for you to learn and grow. So even if they give you a difficult time, that's actually something we need to appreciate as leaders, because they're giving you a lesson in being a leader. So I really appreciate all the voices that I have heard throughout my leadership journey, actually. And no, not everyone will always agree. And that's the beauty of it. Because if everyone agreed with you, the leadership journey would be a very boring one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Matthew. We have more questions, but we will keep them until the end of tonight's session. So thank you, Matthew, again, for these wonderful, wonderful help and very helpful answers, and also your sharing. And thank you all for your questions. So let's welcome our second speaker. And our second speaker for tonight is Amanda Wee. And Amanda is a BID Toastmasters member for nearly 15 years. She has been serving her club members through mentorship and officer roles. She has competed numerous times in the International Speech Contest, finally winning third place in 2017 after discovering the power of vulnerability and finding her own mentors. She selected motivational strategies for her Pathways program, as she believes that true leadership comes from influencing people in a positive way. Leaders should also lead themselves, first especially with their emotional intelligence, before they can effectively lead others. And this leads to her topic tonight, Happy Me, Happy Partner, with the objective of understanding your emotional intelligence from Motivational Strategies Level 3, Project 3. And the purpose of this project is to understand how your emotions impact your relationships. And for this project, the speaker, the person, needs to keep a journal about their emotions and how they impact them and others for at least 2 weeks. So let us put our hands together to welcome Amanda Wee.
Gentlemen, raise your hands if you like to wash the dishes. I couldn't see you, but raise both of your hands if you absolutely hate washing the dishes. Now, I'm assuming most of you guys are raising both of your hands. Like most of you, Jackie, my boyfriend, is no exception. After each meal, Jackie and I would often have a long discussion on who is going to wash the dishes. And of course, utilizing my super feminine power, I would often win the argument. But not a couple of months ago. Toastmasters of the evening, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. Despite the fact that washing the dishes is a minute task, it's still an important household chore that needs someone's attention. It will only take 10 to 15 minutes to do the chore, but he and I both find the task super boring that we often go to a pointless argument. Well, not to the point of destroying our relationship yet, but I couldn't deny the fact that it's affecting our mood on a daily basis. Now, it wasn't until I started to keep a journal did I notice some patterns. Now, deep down inside of me, I value our relationship more than the responsibility itself. I really don't want to argue over some petty dishes. One day, after dinner, Jackie and I know what's the next topic, but neither of us uttered a word. Jackie went off to the balcony to hang his clothes, while I stayed put and watched TV. Now, looking at the empty plates before me, I know I had to ask the question. So I put on my sweet smile, my big watery eyes, and I tiptoed my way to the balcony. Honey, are you going to wash the dishes? Aren't you concerned about anything else other than the dishes? Was his only response. I was mad. I was really mad. But at the same time, I know that anger leads to nowhere. And I remembered the goal that I've written down on my journal. I want a better relationship with Jackie. And so I simply responded with, fine, I'll do the dishes. I don't want to spend the rest of my life asking you the same question. Since then, I did both the cooking and the dishes. Initially, I thought, why am I doing this? Why am I cooking and doing the dishes at the same time? This is so unfair. Clearly, I wasn't happy with the result. And so we didn't talk for days. But as I started to listen to my favorite songs on YouTube, it made the chore rather more enjoyable. And I started to smile again. And Jackie noticed the shift on my mood. And he started to approach me again by giving me a hug from the back and making me laugh again. From then on, we started to create fond memories together again. The happier I get, the happier that Jackie is enjoying his time with me, and the more that he's willing to do some other household tasks like washing the clothes or repairing some items at home. What I have learned from this experience is that all I need for my relationship to improve is simply to let go of expectations so that I could remain in a positive state. And the happier I get, the better and faster that I can do my tasks, and Jackie changes at the same time. It's really as simple as starting the change within myself, and everything will fall into place. Now, the process wasn't easy at all. I had to go through some emotional disturbances before I can get to where I am today. First of all is self-awareness. Now I'm acutely aware when my emotions started to shift towards a negative energy. Second of all is to remember my goals. Knowing my outcome would allow me to choose the right response and reaction that would lead me towards the desire that I wanted. Third of all is show empathy. Once I started to listen and show compassion towards Jackie, knowing that even I don't want to wash the dishes, it makes me easier to accept the reality and adjust accordingly. Now, the fourth thing is constant practice on managing my emotions. From time to time, my emotions will get loose too, but it's okay. As long as I'm aware of it, I remember my outcome, I show empathy towards others, then I know that I would be able to manage my emotions well next time. Now, gentlemen, please don't go home and tell your wives what I have shared tonight, or ask them to join Toastmasters and join or choose motivational strategies as their pathway. I guarantee you, she'll either slap you in the face or she'll forbid you from coming to Toastmasters. Now, ladies, don't get discouraged. Although it seems that I'm doing more than Jackie does, but the truth is I can always get him do some other chores voluntarily, like, for example, buying the groceries. I believe that true power lies in being able to manage one's emotions well, so that we are in a clear, positive state to make the right decision and reactions at the time. Now, talking about positive state, perhaps a better solution to my problem is to simply ask Jackie to buy me a dishwasher. What do you think? Toastmasters of the evening.
Thank you, Amanda. I was so drawn that I forgot to turn on my microphone. And thank you. I think throughout watching Amanda's speech, we learn how in this process, it's not easy. It's challenging to face your own emotions and to learn to overcome them, especially in the moment. And so before we begin our Q&A, I'd like to invite Amanda to share a bit about what you have learned during this process of doing this particular project and what benefits you feel that you have gained by doing this project.
Sure. Well, I don't really have the habit of writing a journal before this project. I am really a lazy person. So when I started on this project, I have one of the requirements is to keep a journal for 2 weeks. So what I have discovered or realized is that as I write my emotions down, I constantly repeat some words. Like, for example, I wanted to have a better relationship. What can I do? It's the journal is actually a funnel for me to, one, to release my emotions, my negative emotions. Two, is be able to go back, review, and see what are the patterns that it keeps on coming back, and to actually clear out what exactly do I want out of this. So I think it's really a good way to, if you want to really manage your emotions and to understand more about yourself, I would definitely recommend everyone to keep a journal.
Yeah, it's important to reflect, and when you notice yourself writing down the same thing, that's going to be something that's reoccurring in your life, right? So yes. Thank you. So for everyone who is here with us tonight, if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box and I will read them out and Amanda will answer your questions. So while we're waiting for our questions to come in, I would like to ask the first question. Usually when we do a project or a particular habit, sometimes when we build it up, but sometimes when the event has ended, sometimes it can be difficult to maintain it. Have you have you faced such challenges, like you've kept your journal, but has it benefited you after the project, or has something changed in your life?
Yes, that's a good question. And so I think there's two parts in your question. One is how do you keep your habits in a constant pace after this project? And two, how do you like if when you do the journal, what are the benefits that I've gained out of journaling? So the first one is I have picked up a lot of things in the past. Like, for example, my language learning journey, I've picked a lot of several languages: Japanese, Korean, Cantonese, French, Spanish, but I never finished any one of them. And at first I felt really guilty. But then I think because I've had those experiences where I picked up a habit, but I didn't really push through, when I learned German, I really committed to learning and mastering the language before when I started. So I am committed to being able to speak good German. And so for 3 years now, I've been studying German and I could do basic conversations in German. And so I think, first of all, is do not be hard on yourself when you accidentally dropped a certain habit. And second of all is just enjoy the process. And I think it's somewhere along down the road, if that habit is really important to you, you'll just gradually and naturally pick it up. Now, the second thing is, what are the benefits that I've gained out of journaling? One other thing that I do on my journal is I do a daily gratitude journal. So I list down 4 things that I'm grateful towards others, like, for example, the weather, my friends, or my colleagues at work. And then the fifth thing that I would write down is gratitude towards myself, thanking myself for what I have done well today. So this allowed me to change my perspective, to appreciate life more and to appreciate myself more. Because it's really easy when I don't appreciate myself, it's really easy for me to be hard on myself, and it gets me nowhere. So as soon as I developed that habit of writing and thanking myself, then I started to appreciate myself more.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, next question. Thank you. Next question is, would you recommend this project to people who don't feel that they are very emotional?
Absolutely. As long as we're human, we all have emotions. It's just a matter of how open are we with our emotions. I mean, if you look at people who seems like they're so cold, they're so hard, and everything is about business, in their personal lives, they're still having those emotional struggles, just that they're not showing it in public. So I really suggest that they keep a journal for themselves. It's really applicable to everyone, and it really helps you reflect and understand yourself better.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, could you give a brief introduction about the motivational strategies path level 3 to 5 required projects?
Okay, to be honest, I haven't finished my 4th and 5th yet, but basically it's basically the same as what Matthew have introduced. So level 3 is understanding yourself, understanding your emotional intelligence, understanding how you communicate. And then level 4 and 5 is all about teamwork and understanding how do you lead others and how do you motivate others, and learn throughout the journey, learn something from it. Either learn how you lead others or learn how you better work with others in the future.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a very empowering path.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Okay. The next is, it sounded like you spoke to your boyfriend about willing to do the dishes in the end it sounded like how you spoke to your boyfriend about willing to do the dishes in the end was quite emotionally driven. Looking back on it, would you have worded that question differently?
I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly. So I think the question that I raised to my boyfriend is, would you like to wash the dishes, or are you going to wash the dishes? Um, Looking back, I think I did the best that I could to raise that question. And I think it wasn't really emotionally driven when I raised that question. It's a matter of we both are facing the same task that we both don't want to do at all. So somebody has to do it. Somebody has to give. And so with this particular household task, I gave. So I voluntarily committed to washing the dishes after each meal, and that's okay for me. I mean, I think it's especially when you're in a relationship or whether you're doing a team, when somebody drops some ball, you have to just pick it up. And I think when you lead by example, there will be times when you can, when as a leader, you have to juggle a lot of things at the same time, and sometimes there will be situations where you accidentally um, slip the ball as well. So if you lead by an example and tell people or show to people how you, when they accidentally drop the ball, you pick it up and you do it. I think it will also come back to you when people will start helping you voluntarily as well.
It's like a gradual process that goes
Yes, it is.
on and forth. Was there a moment of self of sudden was like there like a moment in your trying to self-reflect or trying to face your emotions, was there like a moment or a reason that caused you to go, maybe stop, I'm angry, but I want to change or something during this project while you were trying to reflect and think about the events that happen in your daily life? Were there moments like this?
Absolutely. There are a lot of moments where I felt like I'm at the tip of my emotion, and then it's like I don't want this anymore. And I think the first thing that I would do at that time is to be really kind towards myself. It's allow my emotions to flow, and going back to what I have shared during my speech is being aware of myself. So I'm at this breaking point. I am emotionally exhausted. That's okay. And then 2 is remembering my outcome. What's my outcome? What do I want out of this? And then number 3 is show compassion. I mean, after I have that emotional outburst, I calm myself, I settle down, and think of how would the others feel, or what is the other person's perspective. And then from that on, I could manage my emotions and adjust myself accordingly.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, are you glad you chose the motivational strategies path, and why?
Yes, absolutely. As I have mentioned during the introduction, I truly believe that true leadership is being able to influence others positively. I don't think that leading people through authority or titles or work titles is a great way to lead people. I think people would want to feel, team members will want to feel empowered. They want to feel appreciated. They wanted to feel that they belong to that team. And for that to happen, the leader has to be a motivational leader, an inspirational leader, someone who actually leads from the heart rather than from the title.
Mm-hmm. And it's also how we are encouraged to learn about leading here in Toastmasters as well. The next
Yes.
question is, oh, someone said, great answer, thanks, Amanda. And the next question is, in the modern day and age where we've all become accustomed to typing, what motivated you to actually write down your thoughts in a journal And how often do you write in your journal?
Well, yes. At first, when I started picking my pen again, I noticed that my handwriting was really poor, like really poor, like a grade 1 handwriting. And so, but then the thing is, I think it it is more it as I write, I was able to put down or pour out my emotions better than just typing, because it requires a little bit more work. And I think through writing, it allows me to really slow down and organize my thoughts. Because in typing, you can type really, really, really fast. But when you write, you have to write slowly and you have to really organize. I have to really organize my thoughts. And it allows me to really settle down, go to a calm state, and just let my thoughts flow. And over time, my handwriting has improved, and I journal each day, every day, every single day before I go to sleep.
Wow, seems like you also gained a new good habit.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Oh, so I think if we don't have any further questions, I think it's about time that we can move on to our next speaker. And thank you again, Amanda, for sharing these very personal but really connectable stories with us about how you, this process that you went through in order to finish your project. Thank you again. And thank you all for the questions. So our final speaker for tonight is Jenny. And Jenny will be giving us a training introduction. She is the former president of TGIF Toastmasters Club, and she is very experienced in writing a blog. Some of us might know. She has been writing her blog for 6 years, and she is currently a movie columnist at New Xingwen. So Jenny will be sharing with us how to create a blog, and it is the preparation for the Level 4 elective project, Write a Compelling Blog. So let us put our hands together to welcome Jenny.
Hi, everyone. Let me share my, oh wait, sorry. Okay, can everyone see the screen, the PowerPoint? Okay, yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to be invited by Simone to talk with you on the topic of blogging. And our project today is how to make a blog. As Tirina mentioned, that there is an elective project at level 4 called Write a Compelling Blog. But how are you going to do that project if you don't even know how to make a blog? And first of all, we need to know what a blog is. So a blog is a website that you can share your thoughts or put on your pictures, drawings, or even just like Amanda mentioned, if you don't want to write with your pen, you can type on blog as a journal. So we hope that after this training, everyone would know how to make a blog from scratch. And before we start, let's take a look at my blog. So you can see there's the title of my blog, and it's about movies. And there's a short paragraph of the description of the blog, and the top paragraph, the top post, the title of the post, there's a picture, and there's a background. I just changed it today. Because of preparing for this, I decided to change it to something more uplifting. And after this training, everyone will be able to know how to customize your own blog. And before blogging, we need to know 2 different things. First is what to blog. Actually, it's pretty easy. Just pick what you love. For example, somebody is pretty interested into art. You can put on your own drawings on your blog. Or for example, books. If you love reading, maybe you can recommend a book each week with your readers. Or fashion, food, pets, travel, everything is fine. As long as you love it, you will continue writing. So for example, I write about movies, and Simone's blog is about something related to pets. So she can write for pet owners. And the second thing we need to know is where to blog. This is very important because before we start, usually we don't know where we can blog. And so now I'm going to tell you some of the most popular platforms in Taiwan. So first one, Blogger. This is one I'm using. Medium. See, this is the one Simone is using. Pixnet. Pixnet is the biggest, the most popular in Taiwan, but because there are a lot of advertisements, it's not so popular right now. WordPress. Vocus. Vocus is a new one in Taiwan. So there are a lot more that I didn't put here. Among all these platforms on the market, when I say on the market, actually most of them are free. Of course, there are some charged platforms that you can use. Maybe they have more beautiful layout or beautiful templates, but with basic functions, actually free blogs are good enough. And today I will tell you how to start a blog with Blogger. Because for me, I personally use it because basically for me it's the easiest one, as long as you have a Google account, because Blogger is supported by Google. So as long as you have a Google account, you don't need to start a new account and try to get used to the new platform or new layout from the beginning. Blogger is something we're more familiar with because if you're using Google, then things will be more familiar with it. And it's pretty easy. There are only 5 steps. So let's begin. Step 1, open Blogger. You can go to, well, you can Google it. You can Google Blogger, or you can just type blogger.com and you will see this page. Then step 2, click sign in. If you can't find sign in, let me show you. The red box on the right top, sign in. So this is the usual place that Google will show. So it's very familiar. Step 3, sign in using your Google account. Yes, when we prepared this training, we assumed that everyone already has a Google account. But if you don't have it, it's pretty fast to apply for a Google account. Step 4, after you sign in with your Google account on Blogger, it will ask you to create a new blog. And there will be 3 different stages. This training is pretty new because Blogger just launched a new layout, new format in July. So this is totally different from when I started. This is the blog I started yesterday. So the website will ask you to have a title. So I typed TGIF Diaries, and then the website will ask you to put down an address. So I put down TGIF Diaries. I tried TGIF, but somebody already used it. So you need to come up with the special name. Otherwise, somebody will already use it and you're not able to use that domain. And last, the website will ask you to put down a display name. This is not important. This is just like your pen name. So basically, the readers wouldn't see this name on your blog, but the website wants to know who's writing it because you can share your blog with somebody else. It can be 2 or 3 people or more people create a blog together. So after this process, you will go to this backstage of Blogger. And on the left top, there is a plus new post button. You click it, start writing, and you have your own blog. It's that easy. You may think, wow, that's only 7 minutes for now, and our training's already ended. No. So now we're going to tell you how to use some basic functions about blogging. So first, after you click new post, you will go to this page. You will see some buttons on the bar, on the function bar, and there's a title. So I typed TGIF meeting number 204. So I'm going to write an article about our upcoming meeting. So in the box down there, I wrote, hello everyone, time really flies and summer vacation is halfway through, blah, blah, blah. Here with the bar, you can change the font, the size, the color of the words. Even you can choose whether you want it bold or whether there's underline. So I tried to use different functions here. You can see the sentences are all different. So it's pretty creative. You can create your own article in your own way. You may think just writing words is so boring. So how about add a picture? So how to add a picture? You go to this backstage page and you see the bar. There is a picture icon. This is pretty familiar for us if you're familiar with Google platform. The icon of picture will always look like that. And you click it. You will see there are 4 ways to add pictures. But today we're going to talk about how to upload from your own computer. So if you click upload from computer, you will see these box. And you can choose files from your own computer, select it, and insert to your article. Then, boom, you have the picture. If you think a picture is too big, too small, you want it on the left, you want it on the right, or in the middle, you just click on the picture and you can change it. After we know how to add a picture into it, you may think, how can I help my readers find the articles they want easier? And that's when we create labels. So if you look right, there's something called labels. And you can put down anything you want. For example, if our blog is about Toastmasters, we can create a label called Toastmasters. And this article is about meetings. So I put down meetings. Then all the labels will stay there. So next time when you create another post, you don't need to put down new labels. You can just click the labels you want to select. If you created before, then you can have different labels under your articles. So maybe you can create a meetings, outings, events, or people, member, anything you want to create. Now we know how to create a post. You may want to decorate your blog because everyone has their own taste and you want your blog to be beautiful so that it can attract people. So back to this backstage page. On the left bottom, there are a lot of different buttons that you can play with, but there is one called theme. Click it and you will see a lot of different templates. So you can see, whether you want your pictures bigger or you're going to post a lot of pictures. Maybe you can choose Imperial, or you will focus more on words that maybe notable is more suitable for you. So there are a lot of different templates for you to choose. Even better, if you know coding, you can write your own theme. So after you create a post, create a theme, and you click publish, then you have a beautiful blog on your own. So on this page, you can see, I have the TGIF diaries. That's the title of my blog. And TGIF meeting number 204. that's the title of this post. It was posted August 1st. And there's the article, hello everyone, and my picture. And I have the background, there's a picture. And you can even change the color, the fonts, everything can be customized. But even easy is fine, like this one. This way you already created a post on a blog. And now we know how to post. Then there are different types of posts. According to Pathways tutorial, there are these types of posts. And I will take, oh yeah, I can share the link of my blog later. Yeah, so I will take the post of my blog, for example. So first of all, you can have instructional articles. For example, I wrote an article telling my readers how to read movie review websites. Second, informative articles. For example, I can tell my readers what are the actors and actresses doing now, maybe after the coronavirus or after they stepped down from the Marvel stage. Lists. For example, 10 movies in 2018 that you must watch. Things like that. Number 1, number 2, number 3, blah, blah, blah. That would be a list kind of post. Interviews. For example, I interviewed a sound designer of a Taiwanese movie and wrote an article for her. That would be an interview. So if you have a blog of your club, if you interview some of your members, you can write interview type of post. Last but not least, reviews. So basically, my blog is about reviews on movies. But for people can write about music, books, or you can write about movies on Toastmasters. For example, you visit a lot of clubs, you can write how good these clubs are and what do you think they can improve. Things like that. So now I'm going to give you 4 tips of blogging. The first one is to know your target audience. So you already picked your target, your type, your topic. For example, mine is about movies. And so I will write articles. Yes, this blogger platform support Chinese. Most of you can see that most of my articles will, yes, I should leave it out to the Q&A session. And so my blog is about movie. So I will write for those who love movies. Like Simone's blog is for pet owners. So people who don't love animals wouldn't read Simone's blog, but she would focus on her target audience. And that would be the purpose of having a blog. Second, decorate your blog with pictures. Nowadays, people don't like reading a lot of words. So you can have some beautiful pictures to attract readers. 3, post on the same day every week. This is tricky because if you post on the same day every week, before that time, people will have this expectation that they can read a new article. So this is a very interesting tip that you can use to get more readers and keep your old readers stay with you. And the last one will be promote your blog using a Facebook fan page. If you have extra effort or extra time, you can do this to attract more readers or share with your friends. So for example, this is the fan page of my blog. So whenever I create a new post, I will share it here so that my followers would know, oh, there's a new article. Or I will share something related to movies that they can follow and they will know the latest news. And that would be the training of how to create a blog. And so I will give my control back to the host, Tirina.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for bringing us into this world of blogs. For people like me who don't have a regular habit of keeping a blog, it's really novel and really useful and insightful, especially during this time and age, the digital media and the internet. So for now, we have the Q&A session, and we already have quite some questions coming in. So I believe the first two questions have already been answered.
I didn't answer the does this blog platform support Chinese, actually.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the easy answer would be yes. But basically, it's based on your setting of your Google. So because my setting was English, so it showed the platforms in English, but you could see that I still post in Chinese. And if your settings Chinese, then everything would be in Chinese. Like label would be 标签 and theme would be like 主题, things like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, sounds like creating a club blog site is a good project for club VPPRs. What's the benefit for a club having a blog site in addition to their Facebook pages?
I think that's a very good question, because now we use Facebook and we're very we're so used to it. But I think the good point of blog is that it won't be washed away. Even though you have new articles, you can still have the search bar, and you can just type keywords and you will find the post you want. So that's the reason why we need the label function. So for example, if somebody wants to find information about the outing, and they go to the website and they see, oh, the first two articles are about meetings, then they can just go to labels and find outings, and they will find the article. But that would be a little bit more difficult on Facebook page, although we have events.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, to start the first which is more difficult to you, to start the first paragraph or to draw the conclusion of the blog?
That's interesting. I think it's always the starting point. Sometimes you will have, just like writing a speech, sometimes you will have an excellent idea of starting a blog or an article, but I think usually it's very difficult to start. And whenever you start, you just can't stop.
The first step is the most important. The second and next question is, what are the main differences between Facebook and a blog?
I think this question is similar to what Simone asked. But for me, I think it would be very ineffective to write a lot of words on Facebook. That's one. And second is, of course, you can put a lot of pictures on Facebook, but that would be words and a lot of pictures. But with a blog, you can assign the pictures wherever you want. So I think that's the best part of blogging. And that's the reason why blogging still exists, not dying. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. So how do we let others find, how do you let others find your blog? How do you allow others to find your blog?
Oh, for me, my way is to have that fan page. And when I first started, I tried very hard, not very hard, but I tried a couple of times to search my blog on Google. And I find it very interesting because I mentioned that Blogger is supported by Google. But if you type any movie I've ever written, you wouldn't find my blog. That's weird. I don't know why. So Google supports Blogger, but it doesn't really support blogs on there. But people still find your articles. And I think the point is to create a creative title. For example, before I started my blog, when I came up with the title Screen, and in Chinese, 影迷尖叫屋, I typed 2 of these on Google and not many results. Then I know after I've been writing for a while, people will find my blog because that's the only result they find.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And Teresa gave a suggestion, pointed out that District 67 is in Region 14 instead of Region 13, in the as stated in the blog. So
Yeah, I saw that, but so what? Oh, I know what you're talking about. So that's in a picture, right? TJF's picture? Or, because I didn't type something related to Region 13, but maybe it's a picture from before.
okay.
Hmm.
So did you monetize your blog?
I forgot what monetize means. Wait.
You make money out of blogging?
Oh, the good part of Blogger is, yes, you can do that. And actually, I applied for it. It's called AdSense on Blogger, and I got approved. But then I decided I don't want my readers to see advertisement when they read my articles. Yeah, because I think when I got approved, I'm already a columnist. So I thought that since I already earn money from writing, I don't want my readers to see advertisement. As I mentioned, Pixit is the most popular one, but it has too many advertisements, so people don't really like it right now.
Can be a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
And Teresa mentioned, yes, it is in the TGIF picture. So
Oh, I will tell our VPPR to change a new picture.
okay, some other questions. What would you, for people, what do you think might be the benefits for having a blog for people who don't currently have a blog? Or what do you find most enjoyable yourself about maintaining a blog? Because we know that you've been maintaining one for 6 years. That is very, 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 very condemnable, not condemnable, very respectable. Yeah.
I think there are two parts. The first one would be just like Amanda mentioned, it's like keeping a journal, like talking to yourself. So you don't need to pick a topic like movies, food, travel. It can just be diaries. And you don't even need to share with others actually. Writing is a process of talking to yourself. And so for me, I would think it could be both a hobby and it can be your brand. So if you do want to share with your friends or share to the world, people will know you through your writing and they will know how you talk. And if you pick the right topic, if it's something you love, then you wouldn't feel stressful writing. Then you can continue writing for a long time.
The means of personal branding and
Yes.
happen in it. So how do we let our friends find our blog, assuming we create a new blog?
Yeah. I think first would be, of course, word of mouth. You need to tell people that I create this blog. And second is, I don't know whether fan page is still so effective nowadays. So maybe Instagram is also a good way. So just try to share to as most people as you can. And I have a very inspiring part. I went to have a talk in a university in Jiayi, and I shared my blog. And one of the students said he's been reading my blog. So that's the first reader that I don't know personally. So I think as long as you are writing and you do your best to promote, people will notice it.
Okay, thank you. How do you continue to come up with ideas for blog posts?
I think this is very good. So I mentioned the 5 different types, and actually, routinely, I only write 2 types. Weekly post, that would be kind of like information types. I would write what are the new movies coming out this week and what are the trending movies the past week. And this is the one I post on the same time every week. And the second thing would be the movie I actually see, and I will write reviews. And for the other three types, actually the topics were discussed by me and my editor. And this is the benefit of Toastmasters. I got this opportunity of columnist because a friend of Toastmasters girlfriend is the editor at Niu Xingwen. So I would discuss with my editor. So for regular, if you just want to start a blog on your own, I think maybe you can start noticing what are some interesting topics that people around you would talk about on the topic. For example, if you want to write about food, then maybe what are some trending food recently? Oh, I know. There's an ice cream shop. It's very famous in Tainan, and it came to Taipei to have a short-term shop for only 1.5 months. You can go write about it. Then I bet this article would be trending. So you can think about something that people talk about. It could be news or just interesting. So like, for example, if like me, movies, if it's December, I could write movies about Christmas. So things like that from your daily life or from people around you. You can ask around.
Thank you. And have you ever had a writer's block when you didn't know what to write or when you ran out of ideas and when you were writing your blog posts? If so, how did you overcome it?
I think there are two different kinds. So the first one would be related to Matthew's first question. If I can think an idea. For example, I remember, I think it was in March, I told my editor that I want to write an article about Black Widow and Wonder Woman, but then they both postponed the date to be released. So then there's no point writing it at a time. So we need to come up with another topic. So I think that solution for that would be trying to look more. So we ended up trying to find a topic on classic movies because the movie theaters were releasing a lot of classic movies again. So that would be a solution. And so usually writer's block for me would be after I watch the movie, I think it's really good, but I don't know how to write it. And so usually I don't watch other people's review first because I don't want to be influenced. But if I have writer's block, I would go read other people's and not copying, of course, but see how they evaluate the movies. So for a beginner, maybe you can go see some blogs that you are interested in. For example, if you're going to start a travel blog, you can go see some famous travel bloggers, see how they write it, and see if you like it. And if you like it, you can try to mimic that style and then create your own style.
Thank you, Jenny, for providing us with a very useful training. And Simone mentioned Jenny is not only great at blogging, but also great at podcasting. So thank you again. So now is our time for the appreciation. And as we know, we have a wonderful and supportive team who helped us make tonight's event possible. So if you have any feedback or suggestions for us, you can scan the QR code and you can give us some feedback. So thank you all. So for our team, I'd like to present our certificates of appreciation. And as an example, we will pose for the camera for speakers. And so I will pose for the camera now, and can the cameraman please show me when you have taken the screenshot. Okay. Okay, so thank you. Okay, next. So we also have a great support team because I'm afraid because we have a lot of people for the support team, so we might not be able to have everyone in a particular photo, but I will read the names. So thanks to Richard Lowe, Jackie Chang, Albert Wu, David Chen, Frank Chen, and of course Simone Nash for making this event possible. Thank you all for tonight. Thank you. Okay. So next we will have our speakers. And our first speaker for tonight was Matthew Mack. Thank you to Matthew Mack. And I would like to invite you to pose for the camera for Albert to take a screenshot of you. And Albert, please let me know if you have, when you have finished your screenshot. So 1, 2, 3, oh, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay. Okay, thank you. So next is Amanda Wee. So Amanda, please turn on your camera and pose with the certificate. Thank you, Amanda. Cheese. Okay. Okay, so thank you. And thank you, Jenny. So Jenny, please turn on your screen and pose for the camera. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay. Okay, thank you. And next we have, oh, so thank you all tonight for coming, and thank you all for joining us tonight as audience as well. So if you have any other questions, any other time in the future, we have a Pathways Q&A Facebook group. So please scan the Facebook QR code, and there are, as far as I know, there are very passionate and dedicated people in this group that will answer your questions quite quickly. So it's very, very helpful, especially when you encounter problems that aren't written anywhere and you feel a bit helpless. People will be here to answer your questions, so you are not alone. Okay, thank you. Next one is, I would now like to draw your attention to the next event. 这时候应该切换成中文。我们下一次的活动呢是在8月15号，那会是中文的 Pathways 的训练。那下一次呢会有3位非常有经验的讲者，也非常有厉害的讲者，分别是蔡明颖、方丽慈，我们现任的 District Director， 然后跟施慧芳，所以下一次也非常欢迎大家，非常鼓励大家，就是加入我们一起在线上来聆听3位非常优秀的讲者做他们的分享。那最后我们想要邀请大家来做 I should switch back to English. Finally, I'd like to invite everyone to turn on your turn on your cameras, and we can pose for Albert to take a group photo. So can everyone turn on your cameras? Okay. So I'm okay. So has everyone turned on their camera? Should I direct, or I will direct? Okay. So please look at the camera, and we will do a pose, and please maintain your pose for a few seconds because there will be more than one page. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, cheese.
One more.
Okay, thank you. 1, 2, 3. Cheese.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, Albert. And thank you, everyone, for coming. And do remember to join that Facebook group and give us some feedback on this survey. It has been a wonderful night. Thank you for joining us. Thank you and goodbye. Good night. Goodbye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.